We're gonna get after like this 80s shape today. It's a dusted bob, lots of like loose layering, just really kind of being able to do a visual haircut, banging in that flick bang, and then just making the whole thing feel super throwback in 80s with a little modern touch. Well, obviously we're not as curly or as teasy as we were back then, just a modern version of it. Let's get after it. Just busting in a quick one length here. We wanted basically to brush the shoulders on this cut. So I'm gonna tip point in and just give me a pretty solid but broken weight line there at the length. And it basically is just a length that is just gonna dust the shoulders. Just wrapping around the head at shape fall. I'm staying pretty square, but that means just a very slight dip forward, very slight. About the width of the comb, really. And that's gonna give me a really strong, heavy front corner. Just tip pointing, just to break in, getting a solid line that's just gonna dust that shoulder. So notice a couple things. I'm being very visual. I'm really not overly combing the hair. As in previous videos, that's something I'm trying to stay away from at the moment. We just want to keep all that weight, right? So the goal can't be to constantly comb the hair flat and destroy any natural texture that they might have. So we're just thinking about that. And then just bringing that line forward, tip pointing, keeping it heavy, but slightly broken and soft. You don't want to come in too much of an angle because that's just notching. That's not what we're doing. Tip pointing is just the tips, creating a really heavy, soft line, making sure that corner's super strong. And then quickly visually checking for balance. Step 2 is gonna be to establish that forward graduation. So taking the entire section, basically it's about 1.5 inches in the hairline, coming down to the back top of the ear. And that's gonna allow us to kind of get all of the hair that is going to fall in both the forward graduation and the bang section. So just standing on that front corner, I'm gonna just put the shape in that I want. And I'm gonna come in slightly soft, straight down, and then I'm gonna start to walk it back, but still slightly out, because I wanna get out at that exit point. So we're gonna go down, back, out, right? That's gonna give us that connection, it's gonna give us that opening, it's gonna give us that mid, and then on the exit point, it's gonna allow us to blend out seamlessly to that forward graduation. And then just establishing a very light, this is already pretty layered, so just a very light surface graduation, taking the weight out of the top. Not really touching too much at the bottom. Just elevating slightly for softness, and just making sure that our shape visually is where we want it. And we're going pretty heavy on these things. Letting that section come down, combing it out to shape fall, and then we're just gonna mimic what we did on the first section with any stragglers there. Most of that stuff is gonna get touched up in the layering, so we can just clip that off then, but just make sure that nothing peeks over the length and weight. 1.5 inches back, right back to the back top of the ear. Notice that I'm not trying to comb any of that out. So once I let that down, I'm kind of down on the mid shaft and end, so I'm not pulling the roots too straight or too flat. And then I'm just establishing where I want visually that weight line to be. Now I don't want this is the weak side on this particular haircut, so I don't want to come in here and do something strange, like make it the exact same length on each side. I want the weak side to be slightly longer so there's balance on the bangs. Down slightly, back, and then out. So just very visual because the weak side has far less hair than the strong side, so I just want to be very visual. And you could see if she had like a big kink in here, that would give me some information in when to put where to put my forward graduation or where to put my bang, based on any kind of real life they already have in their hair. So same as before, just kind of touching the very top of this and softening in. The corner I want to stay as strong as possible, so we're just gonna soften the top, which a lot of times when people come back into the salon, this is a little finer, so you're basically just kind of touching up the top a lot of the times anyway. So it's very kind of apropos for what we see in the salon every day. Drop the rest of that hair, comb it down the shape ball, just check, make sure nothing's coming past. A few stragglers there, so we'll just quick pop. Then just take a look at what you're getting and move on to the layering. This layering, I'm just gonna do a surface technique that I use in the salon. I just kind of grab with my 2 fingers and I pinch lightly, and I just come in and I like soften off the shape that I want, just to make sure that that shape is in there and it's layered all the way down. So just putting that natural texture in, and then I'm just gonna grab and just lightly texture down. And this is just all visual. What I love about this is gonna force me to work super visual. No combing, just moving the hair around. So grabbing that hair and then surfacing off a connection. Real easy. Just watching what I'm getting. I don't want anything too perfect. The whole point of cutting with the razor is to get in there very visually. And it's very different than what we all know from the salon atmosphere, taking these like 1/8 inch sections and really like making sure everything's perfect. Well, you can't get off a lot of different shapes if you're doing that. So boom, just popping that shape in. And this is really good. This is key. If I wanted to turn this bottom under, I could just kind of cut more off of that corner and turn it under. We have a lot of options here. I can invert slightly with my fingers if I need to keep weight towards the front. I'm staying very vertical, just kind of softening that up, and then just paying attention to what that texture is giving me the whole way through. If I want to pop a couple more in, pretty easy to do that, just to get some surface layering in there. Just a little surface layering in the bangs. I picked that up with my comb. Same thing on the other side, just picking that up slightly. Elevating to stay away from messing with the exterior, but just to give me a little bit of life into that bang. Same on the other side. There's one section on this side. And be very careful. You don't want to cut too deep into this side, because that might be that connection point of the exit point of the bang and the connection or the entrance point of the forward graduation. So we want to be careful not to cut too deep into the layering there, because you might need a little bit of that weight. All right, that's that kind of finished wet cut. That's what we're going to get naturally for her on a daily basis. That's what we're trying to cut to. That's that finished wet cut. We're going to come in and dry this out. right, gang, that's the flick, okay? That's that dusted shoulder, surface layered, left super loose and piecey, just lovely shape, super soft and movable. And then the flick, just so brilliant. I love this haircut. It's one of my favorites. It's been around since the 80s. It's never going anywhere. It's just gonna cycle back through every 20 years. It's just such a brilliant shape.